येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। येन धौता गिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्च ज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। अज्ञानान्तस्य लोकस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। Okay, while we studying Prakriti Bhava Prakaranam, we add this sutra Avang Spotayanasya. There, we took the example go plus here go is g plus o. So this o gets Avang Adeshaha by this sutra. The question is, it is not this sutra does not tell this o gets avang. It just tells the word go gets avang adesha. So but we do the adesha in place of o instead of the whole word go. The question is why the whole word go doesn't get avang adesha, only o gets, why not only gakara? So we shall study some sutras related to this adesha in this class. So the sutras, this section, in this section we studied the sutras, these sutras shashti sthane yoga sthanentaratamaha urandraparaha. By shashti sthane yoga, the word in shashti represents the sthani antaratamaha. By this sutra, the adesha, if there are more than one adesha for a given sthani, then the one which resembles the most to the sthani will come as adesha in place of sthani. Urandraparaha, whenever ukara is replaced by any of an letters, here an means a, e, u. If ukara is replaced by a or e or u, it is raparaha. It comes along with refa. If ru is replaced by a, it is actually har, like that. If it is replaced by e, it becomes ir, or if it is replaced by u, it becomes ur. These sutras we studied. The next sutra in the list are alontyasya, nicha, adeh parasya, anekal shitsarvasya. These four sutras also deal with that sthani and adesha. We are going to study all these four sutras in this class. Alontyasya, alaha, antyasya, both are in shashti. Shashtyaha sthani, shashti sthani, they come as anurti. So anvayaha shashtyaha antyasya alaha sthani. Antyasya means the last, alaha is the shashti ekavachana of the word hal. Hal means all the letters starting from ayun up to hal. So it covers all the swaras and all the consonants. Sthane. So whenever an adesha is mandated by any sutra, that adesha comes in the place of the last al letter of the sthani. For example, if the sthani has more than one letters, by this sutra alontyasya, that adesha comes in the place of the last letter of the sthani. Let us take one example to get it clear. Tyadadi namaha 72102. Tyadadinam aha is the padachhedaha. Vibhaktau comes as anurti from the previous sutra. So Tyadadinam aha. Tyadadi is a group of words. So it is a gana, Tyadadi gana. Tyadadinam is the shashti bahuvachana of that word. So the words of the group Tyadadi get the adesha a whenever they are followed by vibhakti pratyaya is the meaning of this sutra. These are the words in Tyadadigana. Yed, tad, yed, etad, idam, adas, eka, dvi, yushmad, asmad, bhavatu, him. These are the words in Tyadadigana. The first word is Tyad, so it is Tyadadi. So let us take one example. Tad is a word from Tyadadigana. I am attaching au, which is a supratyaya, which is also a vibhakti pratyaya. So whenever a Tedadi word is followed by a vibhakti pratyaya, then this word Tedadinam means in Shashti, so it represents Tani. So the Tad gets the Adesha of Aha, A. So by this sutra Alontyasya, this Akara, this Adesha, which is mandated by the sutra Tedadinamaha, comes in the place of the last letter of the Sthani. Here Sthani is Tad. This sutra Tedadinamaha doesn't tell the last letter of the Tedadi gets Akara. It just tells Tedadi words, they get Adesha yes, A whenever followed by Vibhakti Pratyaya. But by this Paribhasha Sutra Alontyasya, that Akara comes in the place of the last Al letter. Al means it can be any swara or vowel. So here the last Al letter is Dakara in Sthani. So this Akara comes in place of that Dakara. So Tad becomes Ta plus A. Here Ta plus A. This Ta plus this Ta is not a pada. So it is at the this Takarottara Akara. The Akara present which is after Takara is not present at the end of a pada. So by Ato Gune we have Ta. That A plus A becomes A only. By Pararupa Adesha. So we have Ta plus A. By Rudirechi we have Tau. Tau is the Dvitiya Vibhakti. Pratama Vibhakti and Dvitiya Vibhakti Dvivachana Pratyanta form for the word Tad. And that is we got by the application of this Paribhasha Sutra Alontyasya. We applied Akara in place of Dakara, the last letter. Similarly, if we take one more example, Dvi is also a Tedadi word. Here Dvi ends with Ikara, that is the last letter. So this Akara comes in place of that Ikara. So Dvi becomes Dva plus Au. So by Rudirechi, we have Dvau. One more example, Diva Ut. This is 61131. We studied from 6165 or 64 from 64 up to 61130. E Chakravarmanasya. This is the next sutra after that sutra. I wanted to cover the 4 more sutras after that sutra. E Chakravarmanasya, Divavut. Some 3 sutras were there, Sulopo, Kauranai, Samasyali, like that. But they were not related to Prakriti Bhava or Sandhi Prakaranam, so I couldn't take those. Somehow I have taken this as an example to Alontyasya, Divavut. So Padasya Divaha Ut. It means whenever Diva is a Pada, then that word Diva gets the Adesha as Ut. Here Takara is It, so the Adesha is only U. So Div plus Vyam, here by this sutra, Divavut, Div gets the Adesha U. So by Alontyasya, the last letter of the Sthani is Vakara. So this U comes in the place of that Vakara. So it becomes U here in place of Vakara. So here ikara of the is followed by ukara. So ik followed by ach by iko enachi we have ikarasya yakarah. So dyam dyam. One more example. सार्वधातुक अर्धधातुकयोः 7384 सार्वधातुक आर्धधातुकयोः. This is सप्तमी द्विवचनम. I have typed it wrongly. सप्तमी द्विवचनम. Anurtya gunaha from the previous sutra midir gunaha 7382 comes, and we have this sutra in the adhikara called angasya. So anvayapti sutra angasya sarvadhatuka ardhadhatukayoho gunaha. Consider this example chiri plus lyut. Here lyut is a krut pratyaya and it is a ardhadhatuka pratyaya. So or this takara and lakara are it, so only u remains and u gets converted into ana by the sutra yuor anakau. So we have ana here, chiri plus ana. Here by this sutra sarvadhatuka ardhadhatuka yoho, whenever an anga, here chiri is the anga, whenever this anga is followed by a sarvadhatuka or ardhadhatuka pratyaya, here ana is a ardhadhatuka pratyaya, there will be gunadesha of the anga. So there will be gunadesha of this chiri. By this application of the paribhasha sutra alontyasya, that gunadesha will come in place of the last letter of the anga, that is ikara here. So chiri plus ana ikarasya gunadeshah ekarah. So that a comes in the place of the last ach letter. Later by echo yavayavah we have ekarasya ayadesha and we have chirayana, and by natvam we have chirayana. We shall study this natva in later classes. I wanted you to understand this conversion of ikaras to ekara by the application of this sutra alontyasya. Then okay, that was about alontyasya. By alontyasya, the last letter of the sthani gets the adesha, is the meaning of this sutra alontyasya. We have this sutra next. Anekal shit sarvasya, anekal shit sarvasya, the anurti of shashti and sthane from this previous sutra shashti sthane yoga. So anekal shit sarvasya, anekal means aneka al, aneka is not eka. So if the adesha is more than one letter, if it contains more than one letter, one al, anekach, kshamyatam, anekal means aneka al, more than one al means all letters, it can be any letter. If the adesha contains more than one letter, anekal, or shit means sh it, if the adesha yas shakara yas it, then sarvasya means the whole sthani gets that adesha. So we shall take some examples to understand. Aster buhu 2 for 52. By this astehe is the shashti ekavachana of as, buhu is the pratama ekavachana of bu. So the sthani is as and adesha is bhu. Here the question is whether this bu comes in place of sakara which is present at the end by alontyasya, or it replaces the whole sthani. Here the adesha is bu, actually it is Anekal. Anekal means more than one al letters are present in the Adesha. It is Bhakara plus Dirgha Ukara. Bh plus U becomes Bhu. So it is not Ekal, it is Anekal. So since the Adesha has more than one al letter, this replaces Sarvasya, the whole Stani. Here Adesha replaces whole of the Stani. So consider the example of us plus Ardhatuka Pratyayasya Vivaksha. It means in the anticipation of Ardhatuka Pratyaya. Even before an Ardhatuka Pratyaya comes, this as gets converted into Bhu by this sutra Aster Bhuhu. It is in the Adhikara of Ardhatuke 2435 35 I think. In this Adhikara, there are sutras which deal with the Adesha for the different Sthani. Gets converted into Bhu, Bru Vachihi. Bru gets converted into Vach in the anticipation of an Ardhadhataka Pratyaya. This is one of the examples from that section. So, in the anticipation of before that pratyaya comes, this as gets converted into bhu, and then appropriate ardhadhatka pratyaya will be added. For example, yat is a ardhadhatka pratyaya. We even if we want to add this yat pratyaya to us, but the question is before you we decide which ardhadhatka pratyaya to be attached, just by the context of ardhadhatka pratyaya, we need not know which ardhadhatka pratyaya to be applied. But if we are going to apply an ardhadhatka pratyaya, then as will be converted into bhu by this sutra aster bhuho. By anekal shit sarvasya, this bhu adesha comes in the place of us. The whole sthani gets replaced by the adesha. One more example, idama ish. We have this sutra here, idama ish, third sutra. It is in the pragdisho vibhaktihi adhikara. Pragdisho vibhaktihi. Pragdisho. The word disha is present in 27th sutra in this list. So up to that sutra, Pragdisho, up to 26th sutra, vibhaktihi. All the pratyas which are told in this section are called as vibhakti. We discussed this when we were discussing Navibhaktau Tusmaha. So pratyas are called as vibhakti and think pratyas are called as vibhakti, and also the pratyas which are told in this section of Tadita Prakaranam are also called as vibhakti. So in presence of those vibhakti pratyas which are told in this section, idama ish. This word idam gets the adesha as ish. We have this sutra here. Idamo aha. By this sutra, idam, the pratipadika idam gets the pratyaya called haha. This ha is a vibhakti by this sutra, pragdisho vibhakti. So in presence of this pratyaya, this vibhakti pratyaya ha, this idam gets the adesha as ish. Idama ish by this sutra. So idamaha ish. Idamaha is the sthani, ish is the adesha. So by this sutra, idam gets the adesha as e. Shakara is it in that adesha. The question is, since it is not anekach, by this that sutra idama ish, by this sutra idama ish, we have idam replaced by e. But here e is not a anekal, it is ekal. The adesha has only one null letter, it is not more than one. So anekal property is not there. By alontyasya, this e will be replacing this makara, the last al letter by alontyasya. but we want this e to be replaced. This e has to replace the whole sthani. This e should come in place of idam, not in place of makara. We want this e to replace the whole of the sthani. So we will add shakarayas it. So the adeshas which have shakarayas it, they will replace the whole of the complete sthani. So by this anekal shit, this word shit, shakara is it in this adesha. So the adesha which are having shakara as it, they replace the complete sthani. So consider this example of ha pratyaya by the sutra idamo aha 5311. So by the application of anekal shit sarvasya, this he, we add that sutra idama isho. By that sutra, in presence of a vibhakti pratyaya ha, the idam will be replaced by ish, where shakara is it. So it is e plus ha, iha, ear in this word. That's about anekal shit sarvasya. By alontyasya, the adesha comes in the place of the last al letter. By anekal shit sarvasya, if the adesha is having more than one al letter, or let it be having one al letter, but if it is having shakara as it, then also the adesha replaces the complete sthani. Nicha, this sutra comes immediately after alontyasya. Alontyasya nicha. So nit cha, the anurtya shashti sthane alaha antyasya. Nit alaha antyasya. Sometimes the adesha will be anekal, but we don't want to we don't want that adesha to replace the complete sthani. We want it to replace only the last al letter. In that case, we add nakaraya sito, and by the sutra gnich, that replaces only the last al letter. Consider the sutra anang sau 7193, the anurtya of sakyuho from the previous sutra sakyu rasam buddhau 7192. Sakyuho is the shashti, is in shashti. So the anvaya of the sutra sakyuho anang sau. Sakyuho is in shashti, anang pratama, sau saptami. So the word sakhi, sakyuho is the shashti ekavachana of the word sakhi. We studied this when we were studying Ketyat Parasya Sutra. So that word Saki gets the Adesha of Anang whenever it is followed by the Pratyaya Su. Sau is the Saptami Ekavachana of the Pratipadikam Su. Su here is Supratyaya, the Pratama Ekavachana Supratyaya. So consider Saki plus Su. By this sutra, Anang Sau, we have Anang as the Adesha to the word Saki. The question is whether the whole word Saki gets the Adesha or the last al letter of the sthani gets the Adesha. Because here Nakara is Itto and the Adesha is Ana. By Ana, we have three al letters Akara, Nakara, and Nakarottara Akara. We have three letters. So by Anekal Shit Sarvasya, it should replace the complete sthani, but we don't want that. We want only the last letter to be replaced by this adesha. So we have added nakara yes itto. So by nicha, that anang replaces the last letter. Nakara was itto, so it gets deleted. So anang is remains. sak, ana, saka, sakan plus su. In su that ukara is itto, so we are left with sakara. So at this stage we have, whenever there is what is this sarvanamasthana pratyaya. This sa is a sarvanamasthana pratyaya. Whenever this su pratyaya is there, then the ach letter before the naka. Actually here the adesha is an, it is not ana, it is an. That akara was for pronunciation, so it is an only. It is, I told three letters, it is two letters. So here the last letter is nakara, before that an h letter is there, which is a. So there is a sutra, sarvanamasthane cha sambuddhoho. By that sutra, the upada letter which is present just before that, the last nakara will become dirgha. So ana becomes an becomes an, and sakara gets deleted because it is it follows this hal letter by. So which is sutra ज्ञाभ्यो दीर्घा सुतिसे प्रोक्तम हल, ज्ञाभ्यो दीर्घा सुतिसे प्रोक्तम हल 6168 that we studied. So whenever a al letter, halanta word is followed by su pratyaya, then su pratyaya gets deleted. So we have sakan, and there is this sakan is a pada. So the nakara present at the end of a pada will be deleted by nalopa pratipadikantasya. So we have this word sakha in prathama vibhakti ekavachane. So even if you don't understand those sutras which we used in the derivation of this word sakha, just if you could understand nicha, the application of nicha in this sutra, that's enough. Because this anang is a gnit adesha. So the purpose of adding nakara in the sutra is to make this replace only the last letter. We had this sutra avang spotayanasya. For this only we took this discussion of sutras today. Avang spotayanasya, we add here avang is the adesha for the word go. Since here nakara is it, so this adesha replaces the last letter of the sthani. Here sthani is go, the last letter is o. So this avang, since it is nit, it replaces only this o. So it comes in the place of the last letter which is o. So it becomes gavang. This is how this adesha avang is substituted in this example. So this is about these three sutras: alontyasya, nicha, anekalshit sarvasya. So by alontyasya, if the adesha comes in the place of the last letter. By nicha, if the adesha is having more than one letter also, if it is having nakaraya sitto, it replaces the last letter of the sthani. By anekalshit sarvasya, if the adesha is having more than one letter, it replaces the complete sthani. Or if it is having one letter but it is having shakarayas it, if it is shitto, then also it replaces the complete sthani. So if the sthani is ekal, if it is having one letter, it replaces the last letter. If it is having one letter but if it is nit, nakaraya sit, then also it replaces the last letter only. If the sthani is if the adesha is I think I told sthani. in the previous examples also. If the Adesha is having one letter, it replaces the last letter of the Sthani. If the Adesha is Anekal, if it is having more than one letter, but it is having Nakaraya Sit, then also it replaces the last letter of the Sthani. If the Adesha is having more than one letter, then it replaces the complete Sthani. But if the Adesha which is having more than one letter is Shit, then it replaces, sorry, if the Adesha is having one letter, but if it is Shit, then also it replaces the complete Sthani. Okay, the next sutra is Adeh Parasya 1154. Adehe Parasya Shashti Sthane Alaha Anurti. So Anvaya Parasya Adehe Alaha. Okay. By Adeh Parasya, whenever we have some Adesha Paryasthani, if the Nimitta is told for that Adesha, for example, this A is replaced, if A is followed by Ya, then that Ya gets replaced by Ra, something like that. Then here the Adesha is told for Yakara. Here Rakara, Refa is the Adesha. This Sthani is Ya. Adesha is told for Yakara, but the Nimitta is present before that. Whenever we say some Adesha to Yasthani using some Nimitta, which is present before that, before the Sthani, then that Adesha comes in the first letter of the Sthani. We shall take some example to get it more clear. Idasaha is the sutra 7283. Eat asaha. Eat is the pratama ekavachanam. Asaha is the panchami. Anurti of ane comes from the previous sutra. There is a sutra which is present just before this sutra. Ane muk. So by that sutra, ane is taken as anurti. So the anvaya is asaha ane eat. So asaha is in panchami, ane is in saptami, eat is in pratama. So consider this example. As, whenever it is followed by shanach pratyaya. Shanach is a krut pratyaya. Shakara and chakara are it. So the drushya rupam is ana. Here by this sutra idasaha, whenever as is followed by ana, the complete ana, it is not just a, it should be ana. Whenever as is followed by ana, then there will be eat. Eat is the adesha. The question is, what is the sthani for eat? Because there is no word in Shashti in this sutra. Asaha. Asaha is in Panchami. Ane is in Saptami. There is no Shashti word. Here we have this adesha, eat. So there is a paribhasha, Ubhayadeshe Saptami Baliyan, something like that. Whenever we are having Panchami and Saptami and we are not having Shashti, then Saptami acts as Sthani. Whenever we are having this Panchami and Saptami and we are not having Shashti, then this Saptami acts as Sthani. So here Ana is the Sthani. We were by the previous sutra, this we were having the substitution of the adeshas in place of the last letter, or the it was replacing the complete sthani. But by this sutra, if an adesha is told by telling some nimitta, here the nimitta is as. This ana should follow as, otherwise this the e will not replace this, or e will not be an adesha for this ana. So this should be there as. but here Sani is Ana. So in this case, this it comes in the place of the first letter of the Sani. Sani is Ana, the first letter is A. So it comes in the first letter of A. So it becomes A becomes E. That takara is it. So As plus Ina, Asina. Asina is the Shanach pratyanta form of the dhatu As, to sit. This is about Adeh Parasya. By Adeh Parasya, whenever there is a nimitta for an Adesha to come in place of a Sthani, then that Adesha comes in the place of the first letter of the Sthani. Okay, धन्यवादः.